first things first here. There's been a tragic helicopter accident in New York City in the Hudson. What we know is the crash occurred around 3:17 p.m. Eastern Time. The helicopter, according to witnesses, literally broke in half before it hit the ground. You could see the video, hit the water, that is. You could see the video. It's tumbling. It had taken off around 3, so very quickly after it took off, it's a Bell 206 model, which they say is widely used in commercial and government aviation. The water was about 45 degrees temperature. 4 people were dead on the scene. 2 were taken to hospitals and died of their injuries. There was a pilot and 5 passengers, and those 5 passengers were of one family, 2 adults and 3 children. And that is all we know. And so I'm not going to keep looping this, but we're going to keep monitoring it. I am, and Mr. Producer will. And when we have more information, I will present it to you. Apparently, it was a family from Spain. And these are sort of tourist helicopter rides that people take. They're not very long. I've never taken one, but family members have, to get a really good view of Manhattan, which is really, when you look at it in a helicopter, they say it's really quite incredible. But for these people, they just didn't make it. So I feel like we're seeing more and more of these things. I don't quite understand it over the last year or so. They write here, does AP, over the years there have been multiple crashes, including a collision between a plane and a tourist helicopter over the Hudson. 2009 killed 9 people. 2018, the crash of a charter helicopter offering open-door flights that went down into the East River, killing 5 people. A medical transport plane killed 7 people when it plummeted into Philadelphia, northeast Philadelphia. You remember seeing that one? That plane, as I recall, was registered in, I think it was Spain, actually. But, so there's this. And also, I don't know what the hell's going on at Reagan National Airport. But you've got 2 planes, their wings clipped. You had members of Congress on board the one of the planes, apparently. And the collision happened at around 12:45 p.m. today. One plane clipped the wing of a second aircraft preparing to take off, but one of them was at the gate, for crying out loud. That was the early report. Now I'm reading that, no, actually, they were on the runway. New York Representative Nick LaLotta, who was on Flight 4522 to JFK, one of the planes was headed to JFK, said the plane he was on was parked when another jet suddenly struck its wing while taxiing. New York Democratic Representative Grace Meng replied, "Glad my colleagues and I are okay. We are safely waiting on the tarmac, but we may need more snacks." He also shared a photo from his window showing the other aircraft stopped on the tarmac just feet away. The wingtip of the American Airlines Flight 5490 struck American Airlines Flight 4522 on a taxiway at Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport around 12:45 local time. Flight 5490, Bombardier CRJ 900, was headed to Charleston International Airport in South Carolina. Flight 4522 was headed to JFK International Airport in New York. That is all we know. There were 76 customers, 4 crew members on the flight to Charleston. And that's it. That's all we know about that. And the tragic helicopter crash just a couple hours ago. I've told you everything we know, everything that's been reported by the mayor and the police on the ground, everything that's being reported by the media. That's what we know. It's a 3-hour program. As we know more, I will certainly pass that on to you. And again, we will be monitoring it. That's what we do when we have breaking news and breaking events here. We cover them. And, of course, it's very sad. It's always sad, but it's very sad. Now, this is breaking news on the judge front. A federal judge just allowed the requirement that everyone in the United States illegally must register to move forward. The AP reports a federal judge is allowing the Trump administration to move forward with a requirement that everyone in the U.S. illegally must register with the federal government, in a move that could have far-reaching repercussions for immigrants across the country. No, far-reaching repercussions for illegal aliens across the country. In a ruling today, Judge Trevor Neal McFadden sided with the administration, which had argued that they were simply enforcing an already existing requirement for everyone in the country who wasn't an American citizen to register with the government. And that requirement goes into effect tomorrow. The Department of Homeland Security announced February 25 that it was mandating all people in the United States illegally register with the federal government, and said those who didn't self-report could face fines or prosecution, and failure to register is considered a crime. People will be required to carry registration documents with them or risk prison time and fine. Yeah, this was standard operating procedure when I was in the Reagan administration. Now you actually have to go to court to enforce an existing law, because Biden burned all the immigration laws. He burned them to smithereens. Registration will be mandatory for everyone 14 and older without legal status. Right, that's the way it's supposed to be. People registering have to provide their fingerprints, address. They're trying to make it sound like it's a concentration camp. This is the law. Under Democrats and Republicans. Voted for by Democrats and Republicans. Previously enforced by Democrat and Republican presidents. Federal immigration laws long required that people who aren't American citizens and live in the U.S., including those here illegally, register with the government. Now that's down 7 paragraphs. Those laws can be traced back to the Alien Registration Act of 1940. You know who was president in 1940? Franklin Roosevelt, which came amid growing fears of immigrants and political subversives in the early days of World War II. Gee, we don't have any terrorist concerns today, do we? The current requirements stem from the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1952. But the requirements that people illegally in the U.S. register has been enforced only in rare circumstances. So here we are, the AP. Only in rare circumstances, except when they weren't rare circumstances a few decades back, when everybody was required to do so. So we have one law that the administration's using from 1789, and they say it's too old. We have another law that's not from 1789, but under Franklin Roosevelt's administration, and what do they say? Well, it's not always enforced. It's not always enforced, so here we have Trump enforcing the law. So they can't accuse him of not enforcing the law. Now they're accusing him of enforcing the law. Then we have this from Reuters, Boston. A federal judge said she will block President Trump's administration on Thursday from revoking the temporary legal status of hundreds of thousands of Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, Venezuelans in the United States. These are people who came into the country during the Biden regime and were given a free pass. U.S. District Judge Indira Tawani in Boston said the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, their decision to cut short a 2-year parole granted to the migrants under Trump's Democrat predecessor, Joe Biden, was based on an incorrect reading of the law. The judge, an appointee of Barack Obama, said the administration wanted to expose about 450,000 people to expedited deposition effective April 24, based on a wrong interpretation of the statute. She said the law focused on people who illegally crossed the border and providing a means to remove them on an expedited basis, not individuals who were granted permission to enter the United States under a grant of parole. I think these are the people who Biden flew into the country, if I'm not mistaken. And so that will be appealed, as all this stuff has to be appealed. So President of the United States is not allowed to secure the border. He's only allowed to open the border and allow all kinds of people into the country. In fact, bring them into the country illegally. Then confer a parole status on them, which he shouldn't be doing either. And then the president incoming, because the American people have had enough of it and have voted against what this prior administration did. But we have an Obama judge who says no. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people, 450,000, give or take, from the third world, Cuba, Haiti, Haitians, Nicaraguans, Venezuelans, they get to stay for the 2-year period. And so that will have to be appealed as well. So there we are on the judge front. Have you ever had so much news about these federal district judges in your life? Because it's all an inside-outside game, that's why.